You can upload the stream later to YouTube. You don't have to, you don't have to.
Yeah, right. Good choice.
Welcome to the City of Everett Budget and Finance Committee, April 16th, 2025. I'd like to welcome those of you watching live or via videotape. Today's agenda, we're going to talk about year-to-date budget performance. Second is the budget community outreach review, and then we'll have a discussion, a small discussion on the council budget book. So we'll begin with a presentation. Welcome, Heidi.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. All right. Heidi Berlantes, Finance Director. Joining me is Jamie Lee Graves, our Assistant Finance Director. This evening, we'll begin with a review of our year-to-date budget performance through February 28th. And this is followed by a recap of the budget community outreach that was conducted in August of 2024. So at this time, I will turn it over to Jamie Lee, and she'll go over the year-to-date budget performance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First, we will start with the general government revenues. Our revenue forecast, or how much of the revenue budget is collected each month, is based on historical actuals. As of February, general government revenues exceeded projections by approximately $1.2 million, with total revenues for the month reaching just over $983,000. This increase is largely attributed to the timing of operating transfers in. Along with miscellaneous revenues, business and occupation tax and sales tax are also contributing to the positive year-to-date performance. As noted in the monthly financial report, this yearly increase should not yet be interpreted as a reoccurring trend, as revenue collections can vary significantly throughout the year due to timing as well as seasonal factors. Starting with one of our primary revenue sources, the business and occupation tax, receipts through February reflect an increase of $360,546, or 8.3%. As shown in the accompanying graph, the city typically receives its largest B&O payments on a quarterly basis in January, April, July, and October. Turning to sales tax revenues, collections are currently $17,389, or 0.3% above budget. It's important to note that sales tax receipts are received on a 2-month lag, so February collections represent economic activity from December. This table lists our 6 largest sales tax categories, the percent each category makes up of total sales tax receipts, as well as how each one is performing relative to the budget. As of February 28th, retail, accommodation and food services, wholesale trade, and information came in above budget, while construction and manufacturing have fallen short. Next, we'll take a look at general government expenditures. Similar to revenues, our expenditure forecast, representing how much of the budget we expect to spend each month, is based on historical actuals. This approach helps us develop a more accurate projection by capturing long-term trends and seasonal patterns. However, monthly expenditures can vary due to the timing of specific activities, such as construction projects, which are more common during the summer months. Certain expenses may also be delayed, resulting in variances when compared to the budget. One example is the collective bargaining agreement recently approved by Council on March 18th. As a result, we anticipate an increase in expenditures as retroactive pay adjustments are processed for affected employees in 2025. These fluctuations are expected and factored into our broader financial planning framework. It's also worth noting that departments have demonstrated strong fiscal discipline, with spending remaining below budget. We've emphasized the importance of responsible financial stewardship, and we're pleased with the proactive efforts our teams have made to manage resources effectively. Before passing it off to Heidi, are there any questions on the February report?
Questions? Councilmember Tui.
I have one, can you explain B and O tax? I had somebody ask me this question and I didn't really know. Say, an apartment building that's somebody who has a lot of apartment buildings and they rent that out. Do they pay B and O tax? Is that, because that's their business? Or is that? I have no idea.
Talking more lease revenues.
Yeah,
I would have to look specifically
Okay.
for leasing. Mainly we see it more in kind of the industry
right.
related. So it would
Okay.
be, analysis would need to be done with apartments as an example,
Okay.
and what industry that would fall under. But
Okay,
yeah, generally it's kind of within our retail, construction,
That's what- yeah.
manufacturing and wholesale. So
that's kind of what I thought, but it was a question that I had never really thought about and I had no idea. So, okay. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, I have a question about, under the sales tax. I see that construction is down quite a bit. But you said these numbers are for the month of December.
yes, so February would reflect December activity.
So how does that, how are we doing year over year compared to a year ago?
So let's go back to the sales tax.
Specifically for construction, if you have that, if not, it's okay.
Yeah, so what you see in the year-to-date budget estimate is how much we anticipated collecting based on historical patterns of sales tax that were collected through the month of February. So that is reflective of kind of the seasonality that we've experienced with sales tax overall.
Okay, you didn't break it down by construction, and that's,
No, in the budget development process, though, we do break it down by industry.
I was just wondering how we were doing on as far as the new construction in that
Well,
area. It's obviously December is kind of a low month for.
December is a low month, and I
Yeah.
can tell you that our permits processed are like, we went up by 340%, I think.
Mhm.
So we should actually see higher construction numbers if they're able to get those projects moving.
Right,
So but that depends on so much more.
Right.
With what's going on with the market right now, hard to say.
Mhm.
But we have been processing a lot of, so there's a lot in the pipeline to
Yep.
be built.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our budget community outreach report.
Okay. Yes, so the following slides will provide a brief overview of what was presented to Budget Committee on September 25th of 2024. That presentation, led by Communications Director Nicole Weber, focused on outreach conducted following the failure of Proposition 1. The goal was to better understand community priorities and identify areas where residents might be open to potential budget reductions. We hosted 3 public meetings, including a listening session with Mayor Franklin and Council President Schwab. A citywide budget survey was launched, and feedback was also gathered via email and traditional mail. The survey was our primary tool, and we received responses from 482 residents. Because of the depth of that recent engagement, and given that many cities typically conduct this kind of survey every 2 years, we are not planning to repeat a large-scale effort this year. We believe that decision is appropriate given both the recent input we received and standard municipal practice. That said, we do remain fully committed to transparency and public engagement. Residents can still reach out via phone or email, participate in public hearings, and submit written feedback throughout the year. Those channels remain open and accessible. Finally, I do want to emphasize the important role of this budget committee. These meetings serve as a valuable public forum where residents can stay informed about the city's fiscal decisions and priorities and see how budget dollars are actually being spent. Understanding our community's priorities is essential to making informed decisions. That's why we asked residents to rank the city's key focus areas, giving us a clear picture of what they value most. Before I dive into the results, I do want to take a moment to briefly summarize each of the city's key priorities. At the foundation is responsive and responsible government, delivering essential services efficiently, being transparent and accountable, and making decisions that reflect our shared values. From there, we build on 5 key priorities that work together to improve life in Everett. Safe community. Everyone should feel safe, welcome, and supported, no matter where they are or where they come from. Housing, transportation, and infrastructure. We're committed to ensuring that people can live where they work, move easily throughout the city, and access affordable, quality housing, as well as reliable infrastructure. Economic, workforce, and cultural vitality. Everett is a hub for innovation and opportunity. We support businesses, strengthen our workforce, and celebrate the arts, culture, and community spirit that makes the city unique. Engaged and informed community. We believe in open communication, strong civic engagement, and making it easy for residents to connect with their city and each other. So no single priority stands alone. Each one plays a part in shaping a city where people and businesses can thrive. Everything we do, from public safety and housing to economic development and community engagement, is about creating the best possible quality of life for everyone in Everett. Grounded in these priorities, we asked residents to tell us what matters most, and the majority of our respondents identified safe community as their top priority, underscoring the value of our residents' place on public safety. Apologies. Yes, safe community was the top priority, underscoring the value our residents place on public safety. Following that, the next most highly ranked priorities were housing, transportation, and infrastructure, responsive and responsible government, economic, workforce, and cultural vitality, and finally, an engaged and informed community. As part of our outreach, we also asked residents to share their thoughts on where the city might consider making the most significant budget reductions. Specifically, that survey included the question, which areas do you believe should be considered for the most significant cuts? The top 5 areas identified by respondents were neighborhood group support, parking enforcement, business support, police community outreach, events, arts, and culture. These responses reflected a range of perspectives and highlighted where some community members believed there may have been opportunities to reduce or realign spending. So this slide offers a side-by-side view of how community priorities align with the city's budget allocations. You'll recall the bar graph to the right reflects how residents ranked the city's strategic priorities from most to least important. To the left, the pie chart illustrates how the city's general government budget is currently allocated by priority area. Here too, we see that safe community receives the largest portion of our funding, accounting for 59% of the general government budget. This demonstrates a clear alignment between what our residents value most and where we are dedicating our resources. We also see meaningful investments in areas like responsive and responsible government, and housing, transportation, and infrastructure, both of which were ranked highly by the community. While there may be some variations, the overall alignment reinforces that the city is committed to reflecting community values through our budget decisions, especially when it comes to ensuring a safe and secure environment for all. That concludes our presentation, so we'll leave it open to questions and discussion.
Questions on the outreach review? Councilmember Bader.
Thanks. So great data and beautiful charts too. As I think about this and think about what the community is thinking of when they give us input, two things stand out in regards to the housing, transportation, infrastructure. And I know we've tried to be clear with the community, but I imagine that when people are giving us input, a lot of people may think of things like Everett Transit or things that Public Works does as infrastructure. So while their input may have said, that was really was very strong in terms of supporting that, maybe that really is reflected in what we're doing, but it's not necessarily reflected in the general government. So I just wanted to throw that out there on that one. The second thought I had too, and sorry about the echo, is there, and Heidi, you may not necessarily want to answer this now or be able to answer it, but as we went through the survey and maybe even heard from us here, were there any changes you thought about in terms of the way the budget is presented that might make it more clear to either the public or even us? I mean, thinking of things like, and I'm just throwing out things, I'm not saying these are good ideas or even that they haven't been done, but like seasonal labor versus, full-time labor, or breaking out in terms of the legal department, and maybe this is done, legal department efforts focused on criminal law versus civil. So just any takeaways, and I'm not even focused on those specific ideas, but just wanted to throw those. Yeah.
Yes, and that is how our budget is laid out. So being able to maybe walk through the budget, right? So if I were to look at legal as an example, legal has various activities. So criminal, civil, risk management, and it's all about where they also fall in each activity. Each department will have a priority that speaks to their operations. As far as the full-time and seasonal labor, we do have an overall personnel summary. So it shows the total FTE count, both full-time and seasonal by department, by fund. And then when you go into the department narratives, it'll also show you the labor totals by activity.
And I apologize, I didn't mean to focus specifically on those, but were there any takeaways from the community survey process last year that you think are going to cause you to restructure the way the budget is presented this year, or the proposed budget? So, and again, I'm not necessarily expecting an answer today, but just trying to think that through, as we go forward, that might make it more understandable.
No, it's a really good question. And I think what we'll do, we often do our team meets after council meetings when we get the great feedback from all of you. And we'll think about that and look through the budget. And as we're talking, I'm wondering if there's a way for us to better walk through the budget book with all of you. We know you all read it, you're used to reading it, but the public might not be used to reading it. So, but it's impossible to walk through in a presentation because it's so big, right? But we'll think about that. And I really loved your point on the housing and infrastructure and transportation, because if you were to look at the entire city budget, that would be the lion's share of our funding. Safe Communities would come second. Because of Public Works and Everett Transit. But yeah, let me work with the team and see what we can come up with, but good nuggets to think about.
Yeah, I'd like to make an observation about the outreach portion, face-to-face, that I was involved in. There definitely seems to be an overall bias towards we need to stay lean and don't raise taxes. But the opinions seem to be changed when you actually started about specific cuts. When you actually got down into the weeds, like, okay, well, we have to cut. And several of the questions, which I want to thank the mayor and the staff for asking, okay, what would you like us to cut? It seemed to be very difficult at least for the residents doing with our face-to-face, which we had couple and they were well attended, but it definitely seemed to be a very difficult task, not just for us, but those we represent. So once you start talking about very specifics, and it's very difficult to communicate very specifics for everything the city does. It's a pretty impressive what we all do for as a city government. So yeah, it's going to be a constant challenge to be able to express specifically what we do in each area. So I just want to share that as far as my experience of the outreach. Yes, Councilmember Zarlingo.
I attended one or two of the sessions, although now I can't remember whether they were information sessions before the vote or outreach sessions after. But there were a couple of things that relate to things we talked about here. And one of them was when people talk about things they don't want to cut, I think one of the things they realize is how efficient the city per dollar can deliver some of these services, especially things like parks, for example, and what we do, of course, in utilities and that sort of thing. But the other thing that came out that I think people want to know about is, are we on a sustainable path? They want confidence that things are being managed in a way that gets the city in long-term health. And, you know, by contrast with some other cities, I think that's probably why they pay a little more attention to that. So those are two other elements that I felt like I saw, and that wasn't dissatisfaction. I think in the same vein you were talking about, they look at that and think, boy, that's something that's valuable to a lot of people, but cuts in that aren't that saving that many dollars. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Now we kind of moved into, we wanted to have a little discussion about the council budget book.
Thank you. Well, after the last meeting, Councilmember Ryan joined me in meeting with Heidi and Jennifer, and here she is back there, Lori. So we had a great meeting just to kind of brainstorm some ideas that we had to get the council more on board, especially with kind of the big picture on the budget. And so one of the thoughts that we came up with was to lay out, when the mayor does the message, that at that time, we also get a packet, not the book because it won't be ready, but a packet of, you know, the high level summaries of the following year's budget. And then that would give us time to delve into it. We talked about specific charts that we wanted that would be helpful. And so I thought it was a great meeting. I hope that we can work that out. I think it would be very helpful to give us a week or two to really dig into that high level of the budget. And then when we get the book, we're ready to get into the weeds. So anyway, thank you.
Okay, any other council comments or questions? All right, Mayor, was there any other thoughts you want to share? Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll conclude our meeting today. Thank you very much.